She burned his ashes in the microwave. Not all of them, just enough. Enough to feel the ceramic urn crumble under her fingernail. Enough to hear the dry, whispering hiss, like betrayal ground into dust. Marilyn stood in the kitchen, clutching the small porcelain vessel the funeral home had given her. Engraved on its side were the words, "Forever in love." She snorted. Love? She thought. You didn't even know your niece's name. Rain fell outside, not the kind that cleanses, but the kind that mourns. As if the sky, too, grieved what should have remained sacred. But Marilyn wasn't crying. Her tears had dried up 2 years ago, the day Linda's voice crackled through the phone. "Mare, I'm sorry, but I can't give you Emily. We decided it's better for her. Better for her." And now ashes in the microwave. Because if you steal a mother's child, you don't deserve memory. Especially when you're her own brother. 6 years ago, everything was different. Back then, Marilyn was just a sister, younger, caring, a little naive. And David was the older one, the protector, the one who always knew what to do. When their mother died of cancer, David arranged the funeral, settled debts, sold the house. Marilyn was just emerging from a messy divorce. She wasn't thinking about details. She trusted him. Like always. "You'll be okay," he'd said, hand on her shoulder. "I'm here. Always." She believed him. Emily was born a year after their mother's funeral. Tiny, rosy-cheeked, with a cry that sounded like birdsong. Marilyn thought she finally had everything. A daughter, a sunlit apartment, a quiet job at the library. Life was crawling back. But David started visiting more often. First, just to check in, bringing toys, helping with the stroller. Then staying overnight. Then talking about her instability. "Are you still on antidepressants?" he asked once, eyeing the pill bottle on her kitchen counter. "That's none of your business," she snapped. "It is if you can't properly care for your child." She laughed then, a sharp, bitter sound. "You don't even know what time she goes to bed." But he'd already stopped listening. He was already building his case. The first blow came without warning, like static shock in a silent room. A psychiatric evaluation. Filed not by a stranger, but by her own brother. Claims that Marilyn suffered from chronic depression, was incapable of responsibility, might pose a risk to the child. His wife, Linda, a schoolteacher with 20 years' experience and a face untouched by genuine laughter, backed him up completely. The judge, a bald man in his 60s, looked at Marilyn as if she were already guilty. He hadn't seen her wake at 5 a.m. to cook oatmeal with banana because Emily loved it. He didn't know she read bedtime stories until her daughter fell asleep clutching the book. That she turned down dates, vacations, everything for that tiny life. But David's paperwork was flawless. Faked doctor's notes, neighbor testimonials, she cries when taking out the trash, even a recording of Marilyn yelling at Emily because the girl refused to put on her coat for preschool. "That's normal," her lawyer had said. "All moms raise their voices sometimes." "Not in front of a judge," the man replied. And he granted temporary custody to David and Linda. Pending further review. Marilyn begged. She pleaded like only someone losing everything can. But her words drowned in legal forms, procedural jargon, and the cold phrase, "in the child's best interest." Emily was taken that same day, clutching a stuffed unicorn that never came back to Marilyn. At first, she fought through the courts. Then through letters. Then through silent streets, standing for hours outside their house, watching her daughter play in the yard with strangers' hands on her shoulders. Linda was always there. Always smiling. Always playing mother. Emily didn't recognize her. Or pretended not to. "Mommy," she asked once, when Marilyn stepped too close. "Yes, sweetheart. It's me. And you are." Marilyn's heart stopped. "I'm your mom." The girl looked at Linda. A slight shake of the head. "No," Emily said firmly. "My mom's at home. Your Aunt Mary." Marilyn walked away. For the first time in 2 years, without tears. Only ice in her chest. Cold. Sharp. Certain. She stopped fighting. And started watching. David had always been meticulous. Everything in his life was ordered. Taxes, insurance, vacation schedules. He loved control, in everything. even betrayal. She began with small things. Scoured their social media. They posted monthly photos of Emily, proof of her happiness. She followed anonymously. Studied routines, school, ballet, math tutoring. Watched David pose proudly beside his new car, Linda smile beside a Christmas tree. But Emily's eyes held no light, only obedience. Marilyn knew her daughter wasn't happy. She'd just learned to be quiet. She hired a private investigator. Not right away, first she saved, then sold her mother's ring, then her car. The PI was a quiet man with the eyes of an old dog. He asked no questions. Just worked. 3 months later, he handed her a file. Inside, copies proving David had forged Marilyn's signature on the custody waiver. Bribed a neighbor to confirm odd behavior. Paid off a psychiatrist, a college friend, to write a damning evaluation. All of it fabricated. All of it illegal. You can sue, the investigator said. But it'll take years. And even if you win, they've already erased you from her mind. Marilyn stared at a photo of Emily, hollow-eyed, staring blankly at the camera. I don't want a trial, she said. I want justice. David's death was sudden. A heart attack, according to the doctors. Everything was clean. No suspicion. He simply collapsed on the kitchen floor while making coffee. The urn arrived 3 weeks later. Linda, of course, posted online, "My hero is gone. But I promise to protect our girl." Hashtags about love, loyalty, eternal memory. Marilyn read it and smiled. Truly smiled for the first time in years. Because that same day, Linda called. I need your help, she said, her voice frayed. Something's wrong with Emily. It turned out the girl had started talking about her real mom. Crying at night. Remembering the scent of vanilla and old books. Recalling a lullaby about the moon and a nightingale. Linda panicked. She realized memory couldn't be erased by paperwork. Only silenced. And now it was returning. You have to come, Linda pleaded. Talk to her. Tell her you're not her mother. Marilyn paused. Fine, she said. I'll come. They met in the park as if it were a casual visit. Linda looked exhausted. Emily thin, shadows under her eyes. But when she saw Marilyn, her face lit up. You came. Of course, my angel. Linda cleared her throat. Emily, wait on the bench. We need to talk. The girl hesitated, then obeyed. Linda gripped her purse. You have to tell her you're not her mother. That you're just an aunt who got confused. That you won't come back. Marilyn looked at her. What if I tell her the truth? You wouldn't dare. Linda hissed. You'll ruin everything. She's almost forgotten. No, Marilyn said softly. She just learned to be quiet. Like you taught her. She walked to Emily. The girl's eyes shone with hope. You're my angel, Marilyn whispered. And you'll always be my daughter. No paper can change that. Emily threw her arms around her neck. Cried. Whispered, I knew it. I always knew. Linda stood frozen. Pale. Defeated. The next day, Marilyn received a letter from Linda's lawyer, a restraining order, demanding she stay away from the child. But by then, Emily was no longer just a child on paper. She'd turned 13. And by law, she could choose where to live. She chose her mother. Now they live in a small house by the lake. No fancy furniture, but shelves full of books and the smell of fresh-cut grass in the morning. Emily laughs again. Loud. Real. Sometimes at night she calls out, Mom. I'm here, Marilyn answers. And that's enough. But sometimes, when Emily's at school, Marilyn takes out that urn, the one engraved, Forever in Love. She opens it, stares at the ashes. Feels no rage. Only cold satisfaction. She didn't kill David, not in the way Linda suspects. She simply reminded his doctor about his heart condition. Mentioned he'd stopped taking his meds years ago. The doctor reported it. The clinic ordered a stress test. And during that test, what needed to happen happened. Marilyn doesn't believe in God. But she believes in balance. He stole her daughter, she took his memory. He stole her years, she reclaimed her future. Some evenings, she burns a little more ash. Not in the microwave anymore, in the fireplace. Watches the embers rise. Thinks. You wanted to be remembered. But ashes remember nothing.